Welcome to Mysterious Goings On. We're going to get right to the show after these messages. You know, I love podcasting. I have since 2006, back when you had to use like a Dixie cup with string to make the thing work. And that's why I'm so excited that we recently moved Mysterious Goings On to Anchor FM to record our podcast. I gotta tell you, I don't regret it a bit. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. I'm not going to lie to you, when I first heard about Anchor, I was a little dubious because I've been doing it the hard way for so long. But I got to tell you, it's very easy. Use a Stripe account. Get sponsors. You're not paying monthly hosting fees. The sound quality is great. The distribution is phenomenal. Friends, download the free Anchor app today if you want to start your own podcast, or go to anchor.fm to get started. Remember, you heard it here first on Mysterious Goings On.
You know, I love it when an author is upfront about how they reach back to the classics to inform and work into how they do their stories. And I'm tickled because we have an author today who has gone way back. And I don't mean just like from way back, like, you know, in high school. She's going way back to the Greeks, and her new book, Death by Chaos. It's a novel by Renaii West, who I am very pleased to welcome to the show. She's a former dramatic arts instructor in a school of creative and performing arts. Desiring to spread her creative wings, she's now creating fun-loving and sometimes quirky characters, which, by the way, ding, 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 that's my sweet spot, who inadvertently find themselves in the middle of a mystery and must use their wits and cunning to solve the case. So Death by Chaos, as I mentioned, was somewhat inspired by her own college experiences, postgraduate friendships and adventures, and a little Greek mythology. Okay. Well, Renaii, welcome to Mysterious Goings On.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you've got quite the fine arts and performing arts background. When did your eye turn to cranking out a great first novel?
Well, I've always been writing my whole life. Actually, I wrote my first murder mystery. I think it was in the 8th grade, and my English class performed it. But it was a few years ago. I think it was a few years ago. And then I think I was just at a good place in my life. I had sort of given up dancing as a performing arts skill, and I felt the need to be creative again. And I had the time on my side, and I just sort of sat down and did it. And then I went through the process of getting it published, getting a nice cover, and all the housekeeping things you need to do to get a book out there.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's got a great cover. It's a fast read. It's great. It's not like folks. It's not a Stephen King going to give you a hernia book. It's a good quick read. You've got a nice, if I may say, you've got a nice eye for dialogue here. I like it. I can hear these people speaking when I read it, and I love that.
I think that's a little bit of my drama background, because I did plays, and when I was teaching in the performing arts program, I did write some of the plays that we did. When you are working with 40 kids for an hour, I don't know if you know anything about junior high kids, but if you don't keep them busy, they'll find ways of being busy. And many of them are not usually good ways of being busy. So I would have to find plays to incorporate 40 kids. And the reason I had 40 kids is I was a popular teacher. My classes were popular, so I can brag there for a second. But I had to find plays that could incorporate 40 kids. Not all the parts would be huge, but it would be enough to use them all. And I had trouble finding them, so I just began to write my own. And so that's when I got the idea of writing. And so I think and then I went on to create a few film-oriented websites. And I had a lot of fun writing a monthly blog. And so I've been writing for a while, and I think I just finally decided to put this story down on paper.
I started theater. I was an actor for almost 25 years. I started when I was 12. And of course, what they do in junior high, they do a lot of musicals because there's lots of parts usually. And, but I can see where you would run up against it where it's like, okay, junior high, there's some great musicals, but some of them, to please the PTA, you're going to have to censor some bits of it, right? I can remember doing South Pacific. Bloody Mary's chewing beetle nuts. Ain't that too darn bad? You had to, it wasn't damn, you had to get rid of that stuff like that though. But it's fun. And I can see though that like I said, to dialogue where, I think the fact that, and I think it benefits me that I was an actor for a long time that because every now and then I'll try out the dialogue as I write it. I'll speak it aloud just to see how it goes. You ever do anything like that, or is it all in your head?
Oh, definitely. Some of the quotes, some of the lines I've actually either said or were said to me. And I remember at the time thinking, wow, that's such a good way to say that, or that's such a good dig, or something. I need to use that. And I don't know about you, but I always find listening to people and just letting them talk is the best way to know who they are and what they are. I'm not big on asking somebody a direct question at times because I think they'll give us the politically correct answer or something. But if you just let them talk with each other, you really do find out quite a bit. And that's what I was sort of trying to do with my characters. You could find out who was a little bratty, who was a little more practical, who was the peacemaker, who was getting irritated. You really can find that out by, dialogue.
Yeah, listening is such a huge part of being a writer. And I think some people who know you're a writer can I've actually had people say this to me, get uncomfortable at times. They're like, you're awfully quiet. I'm like, I'm just listening. And then I had somebody turn to look at me and point a finger. I know what you're doing.
You could really make them uncomfortable. You could take out something and say, with the recorder, say, please repeat that. You could really, or in
nice.
paper, you could really freak them out.
All right, let's talk about this book. Tell us what's going on here. What is going on in this book? I want to hear about this quirky thriller you've come up with here.
Okay. Well, basically, as the title suggests, Death by Chaos, there is a chaotic death that happens on a college campus in the early 1970s. And that death will go and affect the lives and friendships of four good friends. And that will affect their lives and friendships for the next couple of decades. One reason is one of the women becomes a person of interest in this death, and she goes missing. The other one knows a lot more than she reveals. And so she carries the burden of the secret and the constant questioning. Should she say something? Should she have said something? When should she say something? And when they're getting close to their 20-year reunion, she decides she has a bunch of pieces of this puzzle. She needs to go out and find all the other pieces and finally get the truth out there. But she is facing one dilemma, is that there are people out there who do not want the truth to be revealed. So she has to be somewhat discreet and a little bit sneaky, and and really have to be careful about her timing and how she gets all the pieces of the puzzle out there. But she has an agenda.
Right, she has an agenda. So, not to cut you off, but to go back here, but what's the Greek mythology tie-in here? This
basically, first of all, the four women are all represent four goddesses. It's basically goes back to the apple, my favorite myth, the apple of discord, where Eris, the goddess of chaos, get the chaos connection? The goddess of chaos throws an apple in. She's upset. She did not get invited to the wedding because she's not very likable. She gets, that's the myth. That is the myth. they totally ostracized her. They did not invite her to this wedding. So she shows up with an apple that says to the fairest, throws it in, and three goddesses claim it: Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena. And Zeus is not a moron. He is not going to choose which one. And, so they picked this poor little shepherd boy named Paris to do this beauty contest, who is the most fairest, and all of them negotiate with Paris. And of course, he being like a 17-year-old boy or something, picks Aphrodite, who has promised him the most beautiful woman in the world. Hence, she gives him Helen of Troy, and we all know what that leads to.
Yeah.
And I kind of, because I am somewhat of a feminist and I embraced feminism in the 1970s, I thought, what would it be like to have four modern goddesses? One that's sort of the sexy beauty one that's sort of the queen of them all, the intellectual, and then the troublemaker. What if we make them good qualities, throw them together? They are randomly thrown together as roommates their freshman year. Otherwise, they probably would never cross paths on this college campus. But what if we throw them together? And instead of having them be each other's adversaries, how about if they develop a bond? How about if they support each other? And then they realize their individual traits, blend together to really create, a strong friendship. They can help each other. And so that's kind of, that's, the whole back to the Greek mythology. And there is an apple that's thrown in there. It comes later.
Right. But, this is also a very good metaphor for today, where women should not, women are often pitted against each other for whatever reason. And if the lesson here is very obvious, I'll state it though, because I'm a simple person. And
so am I.
Is that we should? Well, here's the. Let me tell you the point of your book. Let me mansplain your book to you.
I love it.
That's what I was doing, of course. No, but the point is, if women aren't pitted against each other, but if they look at each other and say, well, this is my particular gift, this is my particular gift, and those gifts come together, look out. It's great.
Yes.
So you did something fun here, by the way, on your website, and I love it. You actually have images, artist renderings of these ladies. Did you do these, or who did these?
Oh no, I the reason I write is because I can't draw or paint. I would love, if I was more talented, I probably would have become a makeup artist too. I mean, I do not have that fine motor skills, but I have great things in my mind. And I envisioned these ladies. And so I did actually get a friend to create them. And I've been told by some people, oh no, you shouldn't do that because I want to visualize them. But I also visualize them, and it's my website. So guess what?
And your characters.
Yeah, these how I visualize them. And it helps, and by visualizing them, it helped me to create them, and it helped to create the dialogue and the body language. I don't know if when you write, but I just not only visualize what they're saying, but how they're dressed and how they're moving their shoulders, or if they're touching their hair. I visualize them. It's like, I guess, a little play or movie in my head.
Yeah, you're well, obviously very visually oriented, and that's great. You know, but it's funny. I look at this, and it's just, my eye goes to one of the women. I guess that's normal, right? Everybody finds certain looks and appealing, and right, And I went right to Miranda.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, can you tell me why, or do you know why?
I don't know, other than to say that, as much as we have a type, I guess.
Yes.
That's my type.
You're in trouble.
Well, I am, but now my wife actually looks like Elizabeth, so I'm really in trouble if she hears this. But but my eye it's so funny. I went to this page, right? And the first thing I saw was Miranda, and I was just like, oh wow.
I bet you like challenges. You don't like to be bored, do you?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay, there's a psychological test asking people to go to the women. That's
Really?
interesting,
Really?
Miranda. Oh, I like
Is,
that.
well, what's do you mind if I ask if there, or do you have things that you can mention like with the others? Is there like I would assume Tasha would be a certain type of guy, but I don't know, or gal, I don't know.
I mean, if you'd like, I can tell you what goddesses each one represents.
Thank you.
Would you
That'd be
mind?
fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I got to get this out. Miranda is the chaos.
No way. I would have thought
Oh,
Tasha
yeah.
would be the chaos.
Oh no, Tasha's Aphrodite. She's chaos in a whole different way. She's just saucy and
Oh.
sexy, and she's the type that no hard feelings, but she'll have sex with your boyfriend, but it's no hard feeling. And
I've known a few of these.
and she can look at you and say, "No, I didn't do it," and he's sticking out the back door. She's a troublemaker in the other way. Miranda is very much a left, I guess you say, a very progressive left wing journalist
Mm.
who likes to find the truth, who likes to push buttons. And a lot of times in college campuses, as you know, the board and the administrators tend to be on the more conservative side.
Right.
And so but she's not afraid to speak her mind. She's a very strong-willed woman. So yeah.
It comes across the way
Yeah.
I think I liked the strength that she projected,
Yes.
and yeah, the challenge, and I'm pleased to hear that, because I was kind of afraid you'd say, oh well, she's the quiet one, you know. And
Oh,
I'm like,
no,
no.
no.
No, but
No.
these are great illustrations, and folks, there'll be a link in the show notes to each of them. But please, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. The other characters related to the goddesses.
Elizabeth, that's the very pretty blue-eyed blonde, and I pictured her as if Grace Kelly came back. She's Hera. She represents Hera. She is the queen. She has, there are just some people that are born and they succeed at everything, and she's one of those. They just seem to be genetically blessed in brains, beauty, talent, everything, and that's her. She's also a very nice person too. So
She does have it all. There you go.
Yeah. And then Dawn is represents Athena. She is very much the intellectual. She will become a psychology major, become a therapist later on in the story. And she's sort of many times the voice of reason, the calm one that can help navigate, problems that these ladies might have. She's very intuitive. And also one thing about these ladies, what I purposely try to do is that two of them will be from well-to-do families who can afford this private college. Two of them are scholarship students, because I think sometimes economic inequity can create some conflict or some issues among friends.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their backgrounds.
Yeah, it can become very uncomfortable.
Yes,
for sure. And then just while we're talking about this, and thank you for illustrating the four lead characters here. But then you've got the dude on the motorbike here.
Yes. We all need a dude on a motorcycle. Yes, he does come in, and he does create a little bit more chaos later in the story. Definitely.
Yeah, it's fun too. You write a really nice steamy scene, I got to tell you.
Okay.
Am I embarrassing you? Oh, come on.
No. That was fun to write. That was a lot of fun to write. And I'm not going to tell you how much is imagination, how much is personal experience. You know what? I've had a few friends who said the same thing. They read the book and they went, I just finished the sex scene. Well, okay.
Well,
yeah, it was fun to write. I hope it was fun to read.
It was indeed. It was distracting to a good extent. And you are a dancer, so I guess my mind will just have to go there, and I'll leave it there. But so how long's the book been out? How long's
I
it been?
published it in December 2020. So it's been out about 4 or 5 months, 6 months.
Yeah.
I'm not good with
And you're
numbers.
me either. You're getting some really lovely reviews.
Thank you. I
Uh,
am. Yeah, that's
yeah.
nice.
Indie Review said 4 credible, interesting, and strong female characters, and the book
Mhm.
is fast paced and never boring. Well, you doesn't get much better than that,
No.
folks. And as I said, because the book
Mm.
moves right along, and
Yeah.
well, let's
Yeah.
think about that. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
One review, and I really like this. She has to admit, um, Tasha, who is the Aphrodite character, she didn't like Tasha, but she appreciated Tasha being in this being an interesting character. It was just that she would not want to know Tasha in real life, but she found it. She said, usually you don't have characters like this in books, so she appreciated that, and I thought that was interesting. Now for me, all four of them are women I would want to know. I'd want to go out and have a glass of wine with them or a cup of tea or something. But I understand all of them, especially Tasha, she has her flaws. She's rather narcissistic.
Well, we all have our flaws. That's what
Yes.
makes us interesting. Yeah, it's a fun, fast read. And are we looking at any further adventures with these ladies?
We are. I haven't started. I'm working on another book now, which will have different characters. But don't worry, there'll be strong women, some good sex scenes, and and some chaos, but different characters. But you know what? I felt like I went through an experience with these women, and I was very happy where I left things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now I'm starting to think about them, and I've actually had people that said they want to know more about these women moving on. And so I sort of I'm having ideas about where I take these women and how soon I approach them. Do I approach them 5 years after the story ends or 20 years after the story ends? And yeah, interesting. And I don't want to do something morbid here, but unfortunately, I am a widow. And I do toy with the idea of making one of the women's a widow, and that would be rather cathartic with me about their dealing. At the same time, I like them too much to do that to them. And then which one would I want? Because it would be a lot of my own experience. So yeah. Well, but you will pop, in a few years, I think you will see them again.
Oh, that's good to know. And just speaking from a purely crass, marketing and business side of writing standpoint, series are great. For you. Yeah, I've got a soon to be 8-book series, and what's lovely lately in particular is every time I release a new title, of course, the long tail, you bring all the other books with you. You see that if they like the new one, they buy the old ones, which is the model you want. But so this new book, how quickly do you think that will appear? How far into it are you?
Well, I've actually finished the first draft. I am a rewriter. I rewrite and rewrite quite a bit, and I have finished it. It was coming up with the final scene, even though I knew what I wanted. I wasn't happy with the dialogue. I wasn't really happy with how I was setting it up, but I managed to finally, get that out. Occasionally we get writer's blocks, or that muse gets on our shoulder, then she decides to do a coffee break. You've probably been there.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Or the muse decides to go on vacation for a few weeks, But no, my goal is to have it out by the end of this year.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so definitely. So.
Well, I think it's not that it's a formula, but it is a formula in the sense that this is a great formula. I think for a series, it's a great formula. This is something I could easily see being like a movie. These four characters.
You. Yeah.
Well, just they're well drawn out, and this the very idea and the whole Greek thing. It's just it all works together rather well. Mm-hmm. And again, it's your first one, and it's your first book. It's a nice start. And Let me just ask you though, since you're now fully into it and you've got another draft done of a new book, and are you now identifying yourself as a writer beyond anything else?
I am. Part of me's a little leery about, because when I think of a writer, I think of John Grisham, or
Yeah.
Somebody that has multiple books, and now Stephen King. That if somebody says their name at a party, everybody knows what they're talking about. I feel maybe a little narcissistic, or I still feel a little bit as a wannabe. Nothing, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be crueler, but you've done acting, as you
Mhm.
said, and I'm sure you've come across with somebody that says, "Oh, I'm an actress," and well, what have you done? Well, they haven't done anything, and so I don't really want to come up. I feel it's almost disrespectful to Stephen King's and the others, but I'm sort of doing that. But I like to, quickly point out, I'm just a new writer. I
Well,
just,
that's perfectly fine. But
yeah,
can I just please say though,
yeah.
you've written a book and it's a good book,
Oh, thank you.
and if you feel uncomfortable walking in, meeting new people and saying, "Hi, I'm a writer," I get that because I had the same
Yeah,
thing for the first few years. It's just, and actually, when people say, "What do you do?" Writing's usually not the first thing I say. I've got another day job, but so I get that. There's a little bit, and I'm not saying you have this, but I've had it, a little bit of imposter syndrome that creeps into me every now and
yes.
then, right?
Hmm.
But just take it from me. I mean, I've been doing this professionally for 12 years now, and I think you're in the club. Um, so just whatever that's worth.
It does help. I've had friends that have promoted me without my asking them. And that does make me feel like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I,
yeah. It be,
I,
go
I
ahead.
didn't want to be a burden to my friends and say, okay, it's one thing to ask somebody to read, can you look over my resume? I'm applying
Yeah,
for jobs, but to say, here's a book that's going to take a few hours. Can you give up a few hours of your life to read it? I always
right.
feel it's a little pushy. And I've been very thankful that the friends who have read it, who have, given feedback, who have promoted it, who have, I've had a friend that bought a few to give up to other friends. That does make you feel good.
Oh, absolutely. That's what's great when it sneaks
Mm.
up on you, and then you happen to go look at the book on Amazon or something, and you see somebody reviewed it, and it's clearly one of somebody and it's well.
Oh,
Let me step back. It's a good review.
yeah.
It's hopefully, but you have lots of good reviews. It's really
Yeah.
good. Well, as we get ready to wrap up here, I just I was, I don't mean this in a bad way. I was pleasantly surprised because I don't read a lot of books that it's just the starring roles are all women. It just seems like in my genre that it's although lately it's really changing. It's all been men,
Mm.
right? But I've interviewed so many male writers lately who are making the protagonist women, and I just think that. Do you think that's the new trend for a while, or do you think it's just that's the way it's going to be? Not just a trend and not just a fad, but it's the way it's going to be in mystery thrillers.
I think we are definitely seeing more and more women being, you know, well, they're changing. I'm trying to think how to say this. In other words, women have more opportunities today than they had, let's say, when I was growing up. And
Yeah.
so it's not uncommon to see women as police officers or private investigators, or in some position, or to take a lead. And so in some position to say, oh my God, we got this mystery, let's resolve this. And then with women, you can have a lot of fun with their kind of quirky personalities, with their different styles. I don't mean to sound sexist here, but you can have more physical types with women than you can with men. I mean, you can, there's the makeup styles that, men, I know we're changing, but you really don't do that with men. I mean, when you think about it, could you have, if I did this story with four men, could you have such physical differences?
That's a great point.
I mean, Tasha with her just sexy, fresh out of bed hair, as opposed to, the other one looking like Grace Kelly. I mean, if you
Mhm.
had two men roommates and they were both, one might look like a football player, one might not. But I mean,
Right.
with the women, you can do a lot with just the style of clothing they wear. And so you can, I think, do a lot more nonverbal communication with women. So
I think it's a great point.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then, as I said, I think with the feminist movement, I think I wrote about the second wave that was, led by Betty Friedan and Gloria Steinem. But I think we're kind of in a third wave. Plus, we have the Me Too movement going on.
Yeah.
So
right.
I think there is a point of trying to show respect to women, trying to put women in a work environment where they're just not the sexy secretary. So I think that's going on, and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, so let me just, so when I interviewed a couple of men whose protagonist is female now, I asked them this question. I said, are you walking a line though where you're having to be very careful to write a female protagonist who is not basically a man dressed up as a woman, so to speak, as a character? In other words, like you just described, you're saying to me, hey, look, we can do these characters and they have the nuance, but they don't lose their femininity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked these gentlemen the same thing. I'm like, and one of them answered me and said, well, he said, the first swing at it, I realized my protagonist was kind of like, I just kind of took the typical thriller mystery protagonist, who's usually male, and kind of put him in women's clothes, so to speak, if that makes sense. And he said it was terrible. And he said that was the thing. And I had to go back and rewrite the whole thing. So it's interesting to hear your perspective, where you're basically saying to me, these characters are not that. These are women who they're not going to lose their distinction, and you're going to have fun playing with them and using their appearance to enhance the character.
I think so. I think, well, I also have a master's degree, and I studied nonverbal communication in my master's degree. And so I think, while we should not judge on appearance, I think sometimes when we choose certain ways to dress, or we choose certain ways of making an entrance, we are making a message to some extent. I think so. And so I think we do judge. I mean, we're not supposed to, but we do. I used to say when I was teaching junior high, if a new student walked into my classroom, within a few minutes, I knew what group the student was going to become part of. I just knew by the personality, by the way they looked at me. Some of them were friendly, some of them were like, yeah, I'm here. I was, 99% right.
Yeah.
And so we do exude a lot non-verbally. And even though I do use a lot of dialogue, because dialogue, in a sense, is a nonverbal communication. It's not just what you're saying, but it's how you're saying it, why you're saying it, why you choose that moment to say it. There's a lot about that, and how I think these women dress and appear. I think so, it gives you an idea of their character. So,
yeah.
And
it's sorry.
Yeah, I know, and I do like fashion too. So it was kind of fun to sort of create, different styles for them. It was like playing with dolls in a sense. It was fun for. And I think that's what's fun when you create an ensemble piece. You're just kind of having fun with them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think readers are going to have fun with this too. Seriously, though, go see RenaeWest.com, and there'll be a link in the show notes. And it's spelled Renaii West,
yes,
like north, south, east. Go there and then click on the photo gallery, and you can see apparently my love interest, and then you can see the others. Oh, shoot.
No, I think that's thrilling. I'm just going to add this a little bit. When my daughter was younger, there was this thing called the American Girl dolls. They were the history dolls. And my mom started it. She bought my daughter Kristen, which was the blonde Norwegian girl from Minnesota. I should know all this because we had all the books and all the paraphernalia. But it was interesting how my husband at the time loved the 1940 girl. And he sort of wished that was the one she had gotten. And then I have other friends that want this one. And so we find ourselves sometimes just attracted to people for who knows why. But there's a vibe that just works with us.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's interesting when you go against type sometimes in your life. Like I said, my wife looks more like Elizabeth. She's blonde, blue-eyed, very nice, very successful. But most of my life, I've been drawn to the Miranda types who just raise hell and have a look in their eye. And by the way, just like you did, those students saw me coming from across the room and just knew this guy will be putty in my hands. I know that's how they are.
But Miranda has good values. She's a good person.
Yeah, ultimately they all are in their own way. But Renaii West, I've enjoyed this meeting you. So I've already mentioned your website. Where's the best places for people to buy this Death by Chaos novel?
Amazon. I know that's so cliche, but definitely Amazon. You can go to either type in Renaii West or Death by Chaos. And I'm proud to say it pops up very quickly,
It does. So. It does. I did it and boom, there it was. So sometimes I am hunting around for some people, but not this one. It's popped right up. Death by Chaos. Renaii West, I've not only had a blast speaking with you and meeting you, I learned some things. Thank you so much for being on Mysterious Goings On.
That's true. I really did. I hope when I write my next book, I get to come back. You're fun.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, you get your people to talk to my people because the door's wide open for you. All right.
Okay. Well, thank you. You have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Hi, this is Michelle Cox. I'm the author of the Henrietta and Inspector Howard series, and you're listening to Mysterious Goings On.
Thanks so much for listening to Mysterious Goings On. Don't forget we have a complete archive of all of our interviews, monologues, updates, live readings, dead readings. All of that stuff is available at mgopod.com. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the usual suspects. Please join us there. Again, don't forget, mgopod.com also has links where to find me on social media and how to get in touch in case you want to be a guest here on the show. Well, I think it's time that I move on for this week, but until next time, keep reading.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt, huh? Not quite Mysterious Goings On, listeners. You probably haven't got the brand new Mysterious Goings On official t-shirt. This is a quality cotton t-shirt coming in a premium unisex tee version and a women's slim fit tee version in all the sizes you could possibly need. These are great quality shirts coming in a variety of colors, including dark heather gray, black, charcoal, maroon. And on the women's t-shirt, we come in dark heather gray, black, charcoal, indigo, and midnight navy. There you go. Check them out. They are in the show notes. The link is right there. They're being sold on Bonfire. They're typically sold in batches and they'll come at you pretty quickly. All the instructions are on the website. The link is in the show notes here or at mgopod.com. Again, show the world, well, at least show the world on Zoom or show the world when we can finally really get out and about. Show the world that you have some mysterious goings-ons of your own by wearing our t-shirt and help support this show. Thank you so much.